From Pocketnow.com, this is Pocketnow Weekly. Hello, and welcome to episode 002 of Pocketnow Weekly, the once-a-week podcast from Pocketnow.com where we discuss news and opinion from the world of mobile technology, smartphones, tablets, phablets, and everything in between. I'm your host, Michael Fisher, contributing editor at Pocketnow, and I'm joined by our managing editor, Anton D. Nagy. And Nagy. I'm getting there,
you got it right. It's getting close. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody.
And our editor-in-chief, Brandon Miniman. Gentlemen, Brandon, how's it going?
Good day. Hi, how you doing?
Yeah, very, very, very well. I'm hot. I am ridiculously hot because the weather in Boston is, I think it's like 98 degrees right now Fahrenheit, which is about as hot as it gets for us. And the humidity is just ridiculous. I realized that on our last podcast, we did not really talk about where we're each broadcasting from. And I know my temperature extremes has nothing on Tony's. But once again, I'm broadcasting from Boston, and I'm not sure everybody knows that we broadcast from all corners of the globe. So, Tony, you're also pretty hot today. Where are you coming from?
Well, I'm coming from Romania, Oradea, which is basically 8 kilometers or 5 miles from the Hungarian border. And I'm happy to announce that this week the weather is acceptable. Last week we had like 40, 41 Celsius, 108, 110 Fahrenheit, which was awful. But now it's in the normal 23, 25. Even some people are complaining that they're cold. So it's good for me.
I'm glad you have some relief there. You've been complaining about the heat for weeks.
It's been about time.
Felt horrible for you. What about down there for you, Brandon?
I'm out near Philadelphia, in a suburb of Philadelphia, and I've never had a cheesesteak from Pat's or Gino's. I've been there before. I'm trying out this new vegetarian thing for the last 6 weeks. What? My wife does. Everyone says that. They think it's the craziest thing.
Well, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just surprised. Wow.
My wife, she decided that she wanted to be vegetarian for both health reasons and for animal, cruelty reasons, although I'm not going to start preaching. And I thought I'd give it a try, and I'm pleased with the results. I lost a few pounds. I'm surprised by sort of what the choices are when you go to a restaurant. There's actually a lot to eat on the menu, and vegetarian dishes are prepared usually, obviously, with vegetables and very fresh ingredients, and so it's been it's been good. I feel better after I eat a meal. It's a strange feeling, but I feel like kind of less bleh after. I don't want to roll over and take a nap after I eat.
It's not because you're not eating as much, because you find it less palatable, right? It's not because you're not just stuffing your face with red meat. And because that's the amazing thing for me when I have a burger. It's it's so amazing that I can't stop eating it. And then
am I in the right podcast? I mean, are we sure? Really? Come on.
Well, surely you have an opinion on this, Tony.
Absolutely. I'm not even laying my eyes on anything which doesn't have meat. So this is my opinion.
So we're okay. So we're covering all three corners of the triangle here.
Diversity.
Right. Yeah. All right. You make a good point. We should talk about technology at some point today, shouldn't we?
At least the last 2 minutes.
Okay. Well, Brandon, I will look forward to hearing more about that. We're going to check in with you weekly and see how that's coming along.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Be prepared for that, please.
If I pass out, just get some filet mignon, put it in a blender, and feed it to me through a straw, and I will be revived.
I've written that down already. That sounds good. That's all right. We are the first thing I want to talk about is this big thing that is a first for me, and it's not a first for the site, but it's the first in a while for the site. I feel like we are giving away. We're in the midst of a giveaway contest for for an AT&T branded Samsung Galaxy S3. This is huge and awesome, and I really like it. We are, once the podcast goes up here, we should have a link to all the articles that we discuss. That's something we didn't have last time, so we're kind of optimizing going forward. So we'll have a link to the giveaway contest. It's cool. It's kind of elaborate. Do you guys want to talk about how you came up with the idea for this giveaway, rather than just something really kind of annoying, we're giving away a phone and send us an email with nothing in it. I feel like those are kind of boring contests. Not to, dog our competitors or anything like that. I like creative contests, and I feel like this is kind of a cool one.
We had some creative ideas, me and Brandon, but we decided that they're not feasible enough to put into practice. But to be completely honest with you, as you said, Michael, we had some giveaways in the past, and I personally gave away an LG Optimus 7 at the time it was launched. So we had a pretty rough idea of how we want to involve our readers, our audience, within the site, the reading of the content, and getting them interested not only in the contest but in the entire website itself. It's not been difficult, but it's not been easy either. I'm curious to see what Brandon thinks about this.
Tony, do you remember our original idea?
That's exactly what I said in the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not safe for work or even for after work. So,
awesome.
Yeah, so, I mean, maybe another site, another day, but
Another podcast.
podcast.
Do we have to schedule like a Pocketnow After Dark podcast? Do we have to get a different show going?
I think we have to get rid of the clean tag on iTunes.
I went to a lot of trouble to get that clean tag on there, Tony. You don't go ruining it for us.
Okay, I'll try.
Fun for all ages is what the podcast is.
Yes. Well, I'm excited to be doing it. I mean, like I say, it is my first giveaway. I'm really pleased that I got to be the one doing the video on it, and it'll be really fun to see next Monday who the winner is. So, we'll see how that goes. In the interim, though, we've got some. This is not going to be an all Americentric podcast at all, but there are two very important American carrier stories that we just should blaze through here. The biggest and the smallest American carriers are each getting their own phablet, which is kind of crazy in two different respects. Verizon Wireless is getting the LG Optimus View, which I did not handle. Did you get that? Did you handle that in Barcelona, Tony?
Yes, I did a hands-on with that, and I also did the hands-on with the Galaxy Note last year at IFA. So I had one-on-one with both devices at the time of their launch.
You had a year of giant phone exposure.
Yes.
That Optimus View, I remember writing. That was one of the first pieces I wrote after I came on board. Was about phablets or something like that, and the Optimus View was brand new at the time, and I was like, I can't get past how square that thing is. I mean, it looks like a graham cracker or something, or I don't know what is that square.
Well, go on, Brandon.
Yeah,
it's not pretty, and
No.
it's got sharp edges, it's got a thick bezel, and it's almost like what Samsung might have dreamed up for a phablet like 10 years ago.
yeah.
And then 10 years went by and they're like, oh, we can make this thin and elegant and kind of beautiful. But then LG was like, well, we're just going to make this kind of ugly thing that was a prototype that we stole from Samsung's labs 10 years ago.
Yeah.
The thing is that LG had to come up with a tablet. I almost said tablet, with a phablet, even though I hate the word phablet, because Samsung has the Galaxy Note, and obviously they didn't want to go with a 16:9 aspect ratio, and they went with a 4:3, which is at one point normal if you come to think of it, because the iPad is a 4:3 aspect ratio, and everybody says it's good for content consumption, even though if you're watching videos you'll see those huge black bars at the top and bottom.
Right.
But it feels larger than it is. I think I even mentioned that in my hands-on video. I handled the Galaxy Note in day one, and then I handled the LG Optimus View in day one too, and it feels larger than the Note, even though they're comparable in size.
Yeah, and it looks larger than the Note. I mean, the Note looks like a phone. The Note looks like a phone that's got an injection of steroids. The Optimus looks like a tablet that even in its tablet form factor wasn't the right idea, and then it got shrunk down to phone proportions. That said, considering how interested I've been in trying out new, larger phones ever since the Galaxy S3 exposure that I've had, I wouldn't mind trying out that Optimus View. I don't, just because something's different doesn't mean it has to be awful. I would like to try it out for a week or so.
It will be an interesting encounter, believe me, because LG, as far as I'm concerned, they're making good hardware, even though 99% of the listeners will not agree. I think that they make a good job with their hardware, but you have to meet it personally to handle it for a week, and then you can talk about whether you like the 4:3 aspect ratio or not, because there really is no middle road.
Right.
Middle way.
I was speaking of LG. I was playing with it. This is tangent one of 100. I was in a Verizon store today, and they had a little kiosk, and there was an LG phone. It was, I think, it's some LG phone with a slide-out keyboard, and it was a cool kiosk because when you picked up the phone, the system or the kiosk knew that you did that and started playing a video specific to that phone.
God, yeah, I hate those.
Yeah, and the video was just ridiculous. I mean, maybe for someone who doesn't look at phones all day, but let me tell you about some of the things it was saying. It said, "Updated UI with the latest Android 2.3.5," and then it says, "Upgraded process." Oh, echo.
Little echo.
Sorry, no, go away. And then it said, "Upgraded processor," and I looked down at the information card, and it says 800 megahertz.
No.
And I started to cry, and I said, "Excuse me, sir, this is out of date and not factual, and I would like to talk to your owner person."
Did 6 guys come out in suits and throw you through a window?
No, there was only one guy, and there was a big line, so I just went on my way.
Yeah. Oh God, isn't that funny? The retail store is a strange
place.
zone where facts get twisted around until there's something else entirely.
And where things are just out of date, and it used to be that in the retail environment that was okay because things didn't change so fast. But 2.3.5 is 2 generations old now. So
yeah. I want to spend I want to do a whole field trip to retail stores again for some reason. I feel like there's carriers are going to figure out a better way to do the retail store at some point because everyone sort of does it the same now with variations on a theme of these phones on these big clunky tethers. And I feel like there's such a better way to do it. Didn't Helio do something crazy with retail stores? Didn't they have couches or something, or am I just making that up?
Yeah, well, they only had 3 phones, which was great for them.
Yeah.
And then they made a funky environment because they were really targeting the teenagers, and so right. Couches and probably soft drinks or whatever kids these days drink. For me, it's just whiskey all day. But
oh, what a coincidence! Well, before we get too far off on that, while we're talking about carriers and phablets, the Galaxy Note is coming to T-Mobile USA. Really, I just want to laugh a little bit. I mean, I do like seeing T-Mobile USA try, and I really like a lot of stuff they do. I feel like their customer service is really excellent. But they're about to get the Galaxy Note, like on the eve of the launch of the Galaxy Note 2, and it's why bother at this point? I wonder.
Let me defend T-Mobile.
Please.
So if T-Mobile had a press release today and said we're going to have a iPhone 4S this week, no one would be like, "Oh, geez, the iPhone 5's coming out. You guys are horrible," because everyone wants the iPhone, or not everyone, but a lot of people want the iPhone, and the fact that they're bringing out the Note, which is still very popular, and only a small fraction of the smartphone using population has it. There's still a lot of opportunity to get it, and don't forget that the Note 2 is going to be announced next month. But then it's probably not coming out until September, October. And then it's not coming out in the U.S. until probably, if it's going to be as breakthrough as it needs to be, it's probably not going to be available in the U.S. until early next year. So there's 6 months probably that T-Mobile will still be relevant with the Note.
What if Samsung will pull the same trick as they did with the Samsung Galaxy S3, and it will be available in the States in September? And that means that our good folks, our friends on T-Mobile, will get the Galaxy Note 2 next year because they just got the Galaxy Note 1.
Oh, do you think T-Mobile would intentionally delay it?
Well, do they have any reason not to get the Galaxy Note on time? I mean, AT&T had it with the same Snapdragon processor. What was the reason for T-Mobile not to get it?
T-Mobile uses different bands, though.
Yeah, but still the processor supports those bands, and it's not a problem.
The processor that the Galaxy Note uses supports AWS?
Yeah, it's a Snapdragon processor. It's working on AT&T, and it should work on T-Mobile too. So I think, and even if it didn't support those AWS network frequencies, I think if T-Mobile would have pushed Samsung a little bit, they could have had the phone or the phablet in summer, and even then, it would have been late.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think T-Mobile necessarily has a lot of clout. I mean, they're the smallest U.S. carrier. People were interested because they were going to get gobbled up by AT&T, and then I don't know. I like T-Mobile. I like aspects of T-Mobile, but it's
Okay,
just
quick question. One of my usual quick questions. The Samsung Galaxy S3 is a 4.8 incher. The Samsung Galaxy Note is a 5.3 incher. The difference is really small. Would you grab the latest Galaxy S3 on T-Mobile, or would you grab a 1-year-old Galaxy Note?
I mean, I'd go for the Galaxy S3 myself, just because I prefer so much more about it. What about you, Brandon?
If I had larger hands, and we talked about this in the last podcast, how I can't use a phablet because my hands are too small, I would probably go with the Galaxy Note.
The year-old Note, really?
It's got a fast processor. The screen is higher resolution than the screen on the Galaxy S3, and there are things you can do with the Note that you cannot do.
I think the resolution is the same.
No, it's S3 is 1280 by 720, and then the Note is 1280 by 800, so 80 more pixels.
My bad.
But most importantly, you can do things with the Note you can't do with the Galaxy S3. You can change the pixel density. This is a little enthusiast trick, so that everything appears smaller, but you can literally, because the screen is so big, you can fill the home screen up if you're running at the right DPI, forced DPI. You can fill it up with a ton of widgets.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
And they don't become microscopic. They're actually pretty big. So you can have your email widget, your calendar, and your favorite shortcuts all in one screen. I don't know who would want to do this, but in case you did, and not only that, but the Galaxy Note is a better mini theater to watch videos, even though the Galaxy S3 is very good. So there are some advantages.
I've just been giving more and more thought to the Note and the Note family, and ever since I wrote the editorial about tablets, and we talked about this last week, and I would get one. I mean, I would get a Note 2. I would try out a Note 2 as my daily driver for a month. I don't know what the Note 2 is going to be, but I would never have considered that before handling the Galaxy S3 and, to a limited extent, the Galaxy Nexus, just because its display sizes are so ridiculous now.
I'll make sure to photograph the look on your face once Samsung announces the Note 2 in Berlin.
Please do. I look forward to seeing my reaction. Anyway, so moving on to a slightly bigger screen. This is not terribly huge news, but Brandon, your Nexus 7 is it's a hot ticket item there. Retailers are burning through stocks of them. I haven't got. My friend Chris just got his pre-order here in Boston delivered today, so he's enjoying the unboxing.
Did you guys ever take a macroeconomics class?
No.
I finished law school.
I went to school for acting, Brandon.
All right, so no economics there. And Tony, you went to law school, so you've probably seen the line graph that says when price goes down, demand goes up.
So of Keynes, if I recall well.
Keynes, how do you spell his name? Well, this doesn't matter. But let's pretend that Apple priced. Let me start here. How could Apple sell? I don't know how many iPads they've sold already. It's a lot. How could they sell 100 million iPads? They could
just bring out the new iPad. That's it.
yeah, that's funny. Just bring out the new. No, if they keep going down in price, eventually they just sell almost an infinite amount, and that's what's happening with the Nexus 7. It's so affordable at $199 comparatively that it's. It's a hot ticket item.
And it's affordable, but also it's coming from a major brand like Google, which is not like, I mean, if it were like an Asus-backed thing where it's like, hey, this runs Android, and by the way, we're Asus. Like, that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Like, because it's a Google Nexus brand.
Here's an economy-related question to you, Brandon. From what I've understood, Google is selling the Nexus 7 at a minimal, close to zero profit margin. How long do you think they can keep up with that? How long until the price of the Nexus 7 will go up? Because at one point, Google or Asus will say, okay, enough of this. I need to make at least $1 out of the entire deal.
Never, because Google is obviously trying to benefit from the all of the money they make from Google Play, which is a lot. They sell all kinds of content, and they make money from apps. So Google will just be collecting checks, and Asus is probably being paid close to at cost, if not slightly below. And in exchange, their brand is plastered on probably the second hottest tablet of 2012 and maybe one of the hottest tablets of 2013. So
isn't this what we call a dumping policy?
A what policy?
A dumping? I'm not sure if it translates correctly into English.
It translates into something hilarious in English.
Okay, yeah. I'll rephrase that for the next podcast, but make sure to include this one because it's an interesting topic.
Okay. I'll take a note on. We have to discuss a dumping policy on the next. I
already. Never mind.
Tony, this is one of the things that I've wanted to make sure that we mentioned at the top of the podcast because it's so important to me that everyone understands how much joy I get on a daily basis being able to talk to, like you in Romania, Jaime in, oh God, just tell me I'm getting
Honduras.
This right. Honduras, right? Yes. Oh, good. It's just not like every day I get to have like a different cultural experience. Like that, one of these podcasts, I'm going to have you tell us about the parking situation out in front of your building that one morning.
Okay, I'll snap some pictures.
Please do. All right, we'll leave that as a teaser for next time. The final Android topic that I have, unless you guys have another one after this, is something that I've noted in the log for the podcast today as simply as this is ridiculous. Android 4.1 Jelly Bean has been ported to the HTC HD2. That's nuts. This phone will never die. This phone will run every platform that's ever going to be released. I mean, do you guys own one of these? Like, are you doing this just for fun or what?
I have one, and it's probably collecting dust somewhere, but it's in its original box, and I'm actually...
Dude, that's going to be a collector's item.
Yeah, I'm actually glad you brought this up, because now with the giveaway, I might think of giving it away. Who knows, maybe I'll do that.
Might think of giving away the HD2?
Yeah, which is as new, and it will come from me. Who knows, I'll think about it.
You should sign it.
I'll scratch the screen with my signature.
That'll be perfect. Brandon, what about you?
I have an HD2.
I'm the only one with that one.
Oh, well, okay. Mine's sort of bricked. I'll send it to you. Maybe you can unbrick it. The HD2 is interesting, and because as you said, it runs. I mean, I'm looking at the XDA sub forums, and it's got Windows Mobile 6.5, Windows Phone 7, and all versions, but 7.8 and 8. It's got Android, it's got Ubuntu, it's got Meego. And then the question's like, why the HD2? Why not? Why can't the Desire HD do this? Or why can't the Nexus S run Ubuntu and Meego and Windows Phone 7? Well, the answer for at least what I'm trying to come up with is that because so many people bought the HD2, and it became almost a development platform in and of itself, because it, for the first time, brought capacitive displays to Windows Mobile. And I think it came out before Android started shipping. And so it was either... I'm trying to think back. When did the HD...
Well, no, I think Android was out, but it was definitely the first 4.3-inch display I ever saw in public. I think it was the biggest display for a minute.
Yeah, biggest display for a minute. And it's built with the respectable Snapdragon 1 gigahertz MSM. I don't remember the rest of the numbers. And so it's just such a good platform. So I think that if any other device was as prevalent as the HD2, I think it could enjoy the strange operating systems. I really want to see Meego on this thing, but it looks like it's stalled development for that.
I want to see somebody run WebOS on the thing. I mean, I feel like we're all talking about running WebOS on the Galaxy Nexus once Open WebOS was announced, but I feel like the HD2 could handle it. It looks like T-Mobile's release date for that phone was March 24th of 2010, so that was a while back.
Interesting. Yeah, but it's an amazing device. It really... HTC did the undoable, which was bring capacitive touch to Windows Mobile. And they did it before Windows Mobile 6.5.3 came along, before it officially supported. So they had to, from the ground up, create that experience. So that was very respectable.
Yeah.
Even though if you want to go back to the keyboard on the HTC HD2 now and type a short text message or a short email message, you'd be sweating.
Really? Is the keyboard?
All the responsiveness can be tweaked, but the out-of-the-box experience was awful. I mean, you tapped on the Q key and it registered sometimes a T or a U, so it had some glitches. It was good, but out of the box the experience wasn't as good, which is normal because HTC was a pioneer with this, and of course the developing community helped a lot by going with all sorts of tweaks and hacks for calibration of the keyboard and the entire touch screen itself. But I think as a first it was a good effort.
Yeah.
Not only that, but it was made of glass and metal and soft touch plastic. It had a thin bezel. It as we point out, had a large screen, and it was thin, like real thin. I mean, it was a spectacle, really.
Yeah, I still remember the first time I laid my eyes on one. It was on a train, and I just couldn't believe the size of that display.
You started dumping.
I did. I started a dumping operation.
Oh, that translates into totally something different here in Europe, but, or at least in my head.
Oh man! Well, speaking of Windows Phone, though, the only news this week, unless I missed something really critical, guys, save me if I did, is that the Lumia 900 price is down to $49.99, which indicates that we're getting close to the not really the end of its popularity, but certainly the buzz has passed. After the buzz episode 1 was based on the Nokia Lumia 900. We do some speculation in the article there. What do you guys think this says about the state of, this combined with the story we did about a week ago about Nokia reducing its component orders, would seem to indicate that the 900 is kind of reaching the end of its...
Well, actually, there's been a news post today, and according to that, the shrinking of the production for the Lumia 900 was due because of the fact that Nokia switched part of its production to a new factory in Argentina, if I recall well, and the first Lumia 900s, came out from that production line recently, today, yesterday, or something like that. So it doesn't have anything to do with the Lumia 900 dying. I still think it's one of the best phones, if not the best Windows phone at the moment in the States.
Yeah,
but
I agree with that.
I think that this is how to make it sound normal, just by talking, of course. It's a last push. Nokia and Microsoft are trying to push Windows Phone and the current products for the summer, because everybody knows that Windows Phone 7.8 and Windows Phone 8 will come out summer in Q3, Q4, and they might as well sell as much as they can right now to whomever buys them.
But aren't the stakes super high now? I mean, we've been talking about Nokia being in this really big vat of hot water, and they were already not making almost any money, if I recall right, on the Lumia 900 at $99. Whereas, they're slashing the price in half. It's is this like a part of betting on the future so hard, on future adoption of Windows Phone 8 devices that they're going to manufacture, or what?
Nokia's policy was always, and if I recall well, I attended a couple of Stephen Elop's keynotes, was to get smartphones in the hands of as many people as possible, whether we're talking about emerging markets or we're talking about established markets like the US or Europe. I think they're continuing on that same trend to get Nokia products and Windows Phone Microsoft products in as many hands as they can, so they can grow their user base. And to have something established by the time Windows Phone 8 hits, regardless if there will be an official upgrade or not.
Sure, but Nokia doesn't make any money, with the more people having Windows Phone handsets, right? I mean, they don't get any profit from the custom apps they're building or anything like that. Like, their money still comes from hardware, doesn't it?
Yes, but opposed to Google, who's making money out of something else, Nokia has first to re-establish itself as a brand, at least on the US market, where it disappeared a long time ago.
Oh, very true.
So they have to regain that brand recognition which they had. They have to have Nokia, people talking about Nokia as a brand on the street, wherever you go, so they have to get it back into the user's attention.
And is that happening? This is a question to both Brandon and you, Tony.
I think Brandon is more entitled to answer that because he knows a lot about the U.S. market.
About the U.S., yes. I was going to ask you about Romania, Tony, but I want to hear about the U.S. first.
Yeah, I've never owned a Nokia phone, but I'm starting to feel the result of the Nokia push in the U.S. because you see the 900 in movies. that Nokia brand is starting to be kind of cool, and the fact that they're dropping the price, I think, means that the 900 is going to step aside soon. It's going to go even further down in price, and then the new Lumia is going to come out in this holiday season. It's going to be priced at $199 again, and then people are going to be like, oh, do I really need this high-res screen? This dual-core CPU. Here's a 900. It's $30. It looks just like it, and I'm going to get that. And then they're Nokia customers for life.
So is that? I mean, do you see them on the streets though? Like, I mean, do you see Nokia devices out there? I think I have one friend who has a Lumia 900 in Boston here.
It's really rare, and it's
I mean, that's the thing. This is what worries me, because we've had this massive push, and it's been very visible. And AT&T's like, here's a whole corner of the store, and here's window units, and here's everything. We're putting all of our commercials and whatever. And I still, like most of my friends have, and this is anecdotal. It's not really worth anything. Most of my friends have iPhones. Most of my friends have Android phones. It's like...
Yeah, but don't forget the big picture. I'm sorry, Brandon, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say that the, quote, have I seen it on the street, end quote, test isn't very... For some reason, it doesn't really hold water, because think about this. How many Galaxy Nexi do you see in your daily life?
If I go out, I see about one a day.
One a day, okay. And that's one of the most popular phones ever.
What a Nexus?
Yeah, wouldn't you say that?
I don't know. I think the sales data on the Nexus is unclear. But for the sake of argument, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt your thing.
Yeah, for some reason, I guess maybe because there are just so many devices, trying to gauge the popularity of a phone, and I've tried this by trying to determine if you see it in your everyday life is
problematic at best. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and the only phone that you see everywhere is, of course, the iPhone. And it seems that almost every human on the planet has an iPhone. It's very strange. Like in the subway, iPhone. Mm-hmm. Where's the Galaxy Nexus? Where's the Lumia 900? Well, certainly, millions of people have purchased these, but you don't see them. It's
Mm-hmm. And what's the story over there in Oradea, Tanner?
It's different. If you recall the Nokia Lumia 800 and 710 launch announcement, it should have been available initially in 5 countries in Europe. I think Germany, Italy, France, UK, Switzerland, something like that. Maybe I'm getting some of these wrong.
I was jealous. I wanted one.
Yeah, we got, actually here in Romania, we got the Lumia 800, but at the same time around, you guys got it in the States through the Microsoft store, so we got it pretty late. You can still buy a Lumia 800 or a Lumia 710. We have a couple of e-tailers here who are having those phones on their offer, but they're not on stock, so you have to wait 1 or 2 weeks for them to deliver them to you. So it's kind of strange. Romania is a country which up until recently had a Nokia factory, one of the largest in Europe, which was of course closed a couple of months ago due to economic situations, but that's not the topic. The topic is that one would expect to have Nokia Lumia phones throughout the entire European community around the same time, and that's not the case.
Well, it seems like they've still got their work cut out for them, and I agree with you, Brandon, that anecdotal evidence is treated with sort of disdain for a very good reason. It's just interesting to see, because you expect something like a massive push like this, like what we've seen for the Lumia 900, to have had some kind of visible, concrete results, and it's funny when that is not the case. But then again, I am surrounded by people who do not care about technology, which is why I am happy to be on the podcast with you guys who do care about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and with our listeners. Thank you for listening. The Windows Phone is now, I want there to be more news about it, but there is none. So I want to talk about iOS for a second. I do not have the iOS 6 Beta 3, but it is coming out. It is trickling out to developers. I think Jaime has said that some of the improvements have been interesting. I don't think there's much interesting in there. I think it's just, some app fixes and things like that. I still have to get my iPad to like me again. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but I should mention it now. Anyone who is running a beta or a regular version of iOS on their iPad or iPhone, do not do not change your debit card information or your credit card information in iTunes and then try and do a software update, because it will mess up your entire life. My iPad for about a week, because I haven't had the time to fix it, has been stuck in a continuous loop of trying to update its apps and not being able to. So, don't change your iTunes billing information. And in related news, don't lose your credit card when you are out on the town, because that's inconvenient all the way around. That goes for you too, gentlemen.
Nice, thanks.
No problem. I'm happy to provide life advice for you. But even more exciting, new details on the next iPhone. Has production started already? We've got a bunch of leaks of these frames. It seems pretty clear at this point that this new design is a lock, this kind of stretched iPhone 4 design. I have to be honest with you, I'm bored out of my mind by it. Who's excited about it? Please talk about it.
Well,
okay, you took air into your lungs, so now speak.
Okay. I'm sort of envisioning the new iPhone, and I think they're going to have some very interesting hardware breakthroughs, maybe with battery life because of the thinner screen, or could be a higher yet resolution screen, or could be a quad-core processor. And I'm thinking about this, and of course I'm going to get the new iPhone. It's kind of my job, and I even if it wasn't, I'd get the new iPhone because I love this stuff. But I'm thinking about iOS 6, and just right now I had to go to apple.com/iOS 6 to remember what the headline features of iOS 6 were. And except for Maps, the new Maps, and except for shared photo streams, using the new iPhone is going to be a lot like using the iPhone 4S with slightly different hardware. Hopefully it's dramatically different hardware. But, I'm more so fantasizing about getting CyanogenMod 10 or just straight Jelly Bean on my Galaxy S3 and using that for a while than I am excited about getting the new iPhone with iOS 6. It's just a kind of a sad realization there, and
Tony, go.
Yeah, this is maybe just me wishful thinking, but I have to contradict here for a second, Brandon, because imagine this. Apple will have a keynote with the iPhone 5 or whatever its name will be. Do you imagine Tim Cook on stage talking only 5 minutes about the iPhone? No. I think that there are many more, or at least I believe, or I'd like to believe that there are many more features to iOS 6 than what we've seen, and they are holding some of them back for the iPhone launch, because it's just normal to show off new hardware with some new, groundbreaking, amazing, something you've never seen before, and blah, 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 Apple marketing talk features.
Has this ever happened before?
It should be just normal for them to do that, because presenting a new product takes 5 to 10 minutes. I mean, this is the phone, this is how thick it is, this is what it does, blah, blah, blah. It's got NFC, it's got LTE, it's got quad-core, full stop. You have to show something off.
Right.
Well, no,
but it's also Apple, right? They're like, we've put a new gasket under the volume keys that makes it feel like you're squeezing a sponge in your sink, and it's amazing, and it's magical.
That's something like they never did before.
Yeah, but that's an interesting notion. It's been done in history where a company releases a new product, and with it, new software features that we didn't tell you about. Take that. But I don't think Apple's ever done that. I'm thinking back to the 4S keynote, back to the 4 keynote. Was there ever a surprise software announcement?
The 4S came with Siri, and if you look at the MacBooks and the iPad, everything came with something software related. And if the WWDC told us everything about iOS 6, I think that then we'll have the iPhone and the iPad. Whether it will be the iPad 4 or the iPad mini, it's, as far as I'm concerned, impossible to have only the iPhone on the entire keynote.
Yeah, I agree. I think they've definitely saved some stuff from iOS 6. I remember the feature cloud at the end of the iOS 6 presentation, and there were articles out there just picking apart even what was listed in that feature cloud of all the stuff they didn't get around to talking about. So there's other stuff there's plenty of stuff that they can focus on. My beef with it is that it's the same damn UI. Even if I weren't,
we think it is.
I mean, that's what it is in the betas. You know,
In the betas, yeah. But what about if they are holding something back? I don't know, something like widgets. I'm just saying stuff.
Right. You know what? I wish they were. I wish that I could believe that kind of big shift was in store for us. I mean, if it is, I will. I don't know what I'll do. I will eat my hat. You know, I mean, it's just it seems so. They seem so timid about changing this grid of icons based UI mentality, even though it's been 5 years. You know, you look at an iPad today or an iPhone today, the UI looks exactly the same as it did in 2007, with the exception of a custom wallpaper and some more icons and folders. You know, that's not cool.
There's
why
that
is this so
saying.
cool? I don't understand.
There's that saying you guys say in the States and in the UK: if something ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right? Yeah.
And so far, it's selling millions.
I know. You know, I think there should be a saying that says, well, it's broken. Everyone doesn't know it. You know, like, I mean, I don't know. I think that this is still a problem for we tech nerds and a subset of tech nerds too. It's not all of us. I mean, it's just the UI people and the people who use this stuff all the time, I guess. But
yeah, I don't know regular users ever complain about the grid of icons. I think they're fond of it. I mean, they like it. I like it. And if you come to think of it, Android is the same. Okay, bring on the hate mail.
It's not the same at all.
If you take away the launcher, it's the same. Just fire up your application drawer and you'll see the same list of icons.
Right, but the application drawer isn't the core of the experience. The
Yeah, but
application drawer is where you go to get your applications. You can do whatever you want with your home screen.
Yeah, you have widgets on Android, which is something different. If iOS 6 will bring widgets, it will be on par with Android. And again, bring on a hate mail.
I'm always looking for useful widgets, because although I love to tout the benefits of Android as being able to put glanceable widgets on your home screen, they never quite seem to work for me. By the time I flip to the screen on the left, the widget hasn't updated. I'm like, well, this is pointless, delete. And then the news app on the right home screen, also isn't updated, or it's white for like a second as it refreshes, and I'm like, oh, well, this is useless, so I flick it off. And I came across a new widget that I'm not going to tell you the name of yet, because I'm going to write about it and make a video about it on Pocketnow. And it was actually reported on another site, so maybe if you will know what it is. But what it lets you do, I love this. It lets you crop a part of a website. So think about your usage habits. For example, I visit certain websites on a regular basis, like The Verge and Pocketnow and Android Central. And what I do is I look at the top 2 stories and I see if there's a new one, because I'm kind of obsessed with new stuff. And my typical workflow is that I've got a folder on my Android phone with all of my favorites. So I hit the favorite, I look at the website, I go back to the home screen, I hit the next favorite, and I do that. Right. This widget app lets you crop out the top part of the website or the whole website. It'll put a thumbnail, which is resizable, either as a 1x1 or a 1x4 or 4x4 on your home screen, and it will update it. It'll go out and pull the website and refresh the thumbnail at intervals that you specify. So imagine this: there are 4 websites that you visit on a regular basis. You put 4 little thumbnails on one home screen to the right of your main home screen, and you know that it's been updated recently. It's glance and go. I think it's going to make the world a peaceful place finally.
Well, it sounds a lot like the Flipboard widget, except with a lot more granular control over what you have displayed. I mean, that sounds very, very useful.
Quick question again: how many home screens do you guys have?
Yeah, I have right now. I was just about to talk about what I'm running here. Like, I've got 3 home screens right now. That's all I ever really want. What about you, Brandon?
Well, what's on your home screens?
Well, I was since we were talking about widgets, I'm using the Motorola Atrix HD right now, and I've got 3 widgets that I use all the time. I always swipe to the left to get my full screen calendar. I have an entire home screen just devoted to the calendar widget, which is important to me because I do a lot of stuff and I always forget what I have to do. And on my primary home screen, actually to the right is the power control and an Evernote widget. But in the center here, Motorola has really done something kind of interesting with their bubbles widget, because I've got 3 bubbles that I can kind of swipe vertically and flip over, and one of them displays the time, but if I flip it over, it's like, oh, this is the last text message I got.
That's interesting.
And then if I flip over the weather bubble, I've got weather for different cities. If I flip over the battery one, I got a settings shortcut and a data meter. So I love that kind of expandability. That's what I'm running right now, and Motorola's really got that right there. I want to use that on different phones because I'm addicted to it after a day.
So I mean, so you're using some widgets that are kind of system based, so they're already updated by the time you flip over, right?
Exactly. Yeah, they run very well because they're not those third-party widgets that often have those problems you described. Yes.
Yeah, interesting. I go back and forth, and I still have yet to come across the perfect home screen configuration, and I'm messing with a bunch of different plugins that I've found. But usually I have one home screen with 4 or 5 folders along the bottom. Mm-hmm. And what I really like doing, quick tip, is in Android, you can have a direct dial shortcut. So it's one touch, it has a little picture of the person. It's really pretty. And so what I do is in the bottom left corner of my screen, I make a folder with all that's in there is a direct dials to my wife, my friend, and whatever else, and then the phone icon. So like it's so quick and easy for me to call someone that I want to reach. Mm-hmm. So my home screen tends to be very simple, very minimal. I like really nice wallpaper, so I kind of maximize the amount of space I get to see with the wallpaper.
Oh, yeah, I think I stole my wallpaper idea from you. That beautiful vortex or beautiful nebula or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I saw you running that on the Galaxy S30.
Thank you for that. Thank you for the inspiration. Yeah, I would use those call widgets too because I was setting up the Atrix here last night, and I was like, oh yeah, it would be great to have those faces that I could tap on to call, but I never call anyone, so like I just always text, and so those widgets that would otherwise be very, very useful are like, oh well, that's as useless to me as like the Google Play widget that lets you tab through apps for some reason.
The ultimate UI that I found is that Frog UX thing from Sharp, or what's it called? Frog. It's called Feel UX. Is this right? Is this right? Up. Let's see.
I'm looking up Feel UX on Google, and I'm getting a really interesting series of results.
Oh, geez. Backspace.
Yeah.
No, this isn't right.
I'm looking. Yeah, there's a Vimeo video on it. The Sharp UX on an Android phone.
It's got 3 columns, right?
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah.
And what's what I would love to be able to have one of my home screens be Windows Phone 7 like vertically scrollable, because that's a very, very natural thing to do, is to scroll up and down. And then the home screens on the right and the left are just static. But
can I call you out for a second? I'm going to. I'm fascinated in this, and I'm not doing it to be cruel. I'm actually fascinated because we talked about the Android multitasking interface, and so many of the comments on the piece that I wrote about the Android multitasking interface being a ripoff of WebOS is that the vertical scrolling is not as useful as just a box of 6 recently used apps. But I agree with you. I think that vertical scrolling is a very intuitive thing when it's presented usefully, and I think Windows Phone does that.
Yeah, it's about minimal finger travel. Windows Phone does it very well. Oh my gosh, guess what I found out?
What?
You're not going to believe this. All right, everyone sit down.
Mind is blown already.
The iPhone 5?
No. Yes, I have the iPhone 5, and no. So I was using if I already told the story, you should really kill me. I was using a friend's Galaxy Note, and he had a Logitech keyboard, right?
Oh.
Bluetooth keyboard. And interestingly, if you press Alt-Tab, you get a task switcher. And, kind of like Windows or OS 10, right? You guys ever use Alt-Tab?
Yeah, I used this as the jumping off point for that article I was talking about. Yes, totally.
Oh, yes. The interesting thing is that the Alt-Tab task switcher is the legacy Gingerbread multitask UI. And that could only mean one thing, which is that the Gingerbread legacy multitask UI is in Ice Cream Sandwich and, as I found out later, in Jelly Bean. After doing some searching, I found that through a very complicated process, you can actually bring back the gingerbread task switcher and forget this ice cream sandwich vertically scrolling thing that fades in and out too much. You can actually bring it back. And like, I spent an hour trying to figure out how to do it. There's a thread on XDA, and I need to do a lot more research because you have to like extract this thing called the framework from your phone. You've got to edit it and sign it and put it back on your phone without destroying everything. But it's possible to bring back the legacy gingerbread UI. All along, it was in there.
Okay, I'm gonna completely kill the geek excitement, and I'm gonna bring up the lame stuff. What I did recently is in the lame category. I actually connected my Bluetooth mouse to my HTC One X, and I used the HTC One X laying back in my chair here at the office, using it with the mouse, and after 5 minutes I said, okay, this is completely useless. Why would anyone introduce the ability to use an Android phone, any phone really, with a pointing device?
Following the footsteps of RIM, with that scrollable mouse pointer in the browser, which at one point in 2006 was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool, but going through widgets and home screens with your mouse, come on.
And you have props to you for doing it, though. I mean, that is. I think you may win the Geek of the Day award. I mean, Brandon had it until you brought that up, because that I got to be honest with you, Brandon. When you told me on the phone a couple of days ago about that very same thing, I was like, man. That sounds to me like there's been this like abandoned car in front of your house for like 2 years, and you're just like, man, that thing was really ugly, and it finally gets towed away, and then you spend like a week and a half like trying to find it so you can bring it back and put it in front of your house. Like I hate the gingerbread test switcher. I know that it makes more sense. I know it's more efficient, but even though I think the ribbon is a ripoff, I still prefer it to that box of icons.
Check this out. Okay. The cool thing about the gingerbread UI is that it's fast, it's simple, and you can see 8 apps on the screen at one time. I don't have my phone nearby, but I think an ice cream sandwich, ice cream sandwich jelly bean, it's only like 4, right? Yeah. So sometimes you get into this pattern of scrolling and trying to find your app. The ultimate, and I know this is possible because Android can do anything, would be to... First of all, if you're using like a Galaxy S3 where you have to tap and hold the home button to get the multitask UI, so annoying. Change that to a double tap, and then bring up the gingerbread task switcher, but bring it all the way to the bottom of the screen, dare I say, like the iPhone, so that it's really close to your thumb, and you're like double tap, boom, next tap, double tap, boom, next tap, and you are a monster multitasker. That is probably the best case scenario, and I know it's possible.
As long as it's responsive, it has to be responsive and it has to be instant, and whatever. Yeah. We have to move on. I have a bit of a hard stop today, so we have. Is this the new iPhone? Possibly. We have iPhone hardware speculation left and right. We'll kind of have to see how that goes. I do want to cover before we leave iOS though this iPad Mini. Guys, is it inevitable? Tony, you can go first since you haven't talked in a minute. Like, is the iPad 7 going to happen? Is it inevitable?
I touched upon this in our last episode. I think that the chances are very slim, and that's even because Apple is in the business with premium hardware. I'm not saying that it's impossible. Probably they will come out with a 7-inch tablet in order to capture a part of the market which is now dominated by Google, by Samsung, and by Amazon. But as I said in my previous episode, will I buy one? Yes. Will I need one? No.
Brandon?
I think what's changed. What I said last time was that the current iPad is far too thick and far too heavy to be comfortable as in bed and whatnot. What's changed is that the new rumor is that the iPad Mini will be as thin as an iPod Touch, and wow, that would just
that would be incredible.
That would be just finger licking good.
Yes.
I just recently realized I hate thin hardware, but we'll get to that later on. Yeah.
You hate thin hardware.
Yeah, I just realized that when I got the PureView 808, but we'll talk about it later.
I've got an Atrix HD here for you.
How thick?
At its thinnest, it's 8.6 millimeters, but
Oh no! Bring on a 40 millimeters, man.
well,
That's
it flares
macho.
out to a thicker measurement up top, though. It's No, you could definitely. This is definitely a theft deterrent. You could definitely take down a criminal by throwing this at his face. I want to. I think the iPad 7 is coming. If it's as thin as an iPod Touch, I would buy it instantly. That's kind of my one points about the Nexus 7 I really don't like is the thickness. I'm worried about it.
You know what Apple could really pull off let me scratch everything. I'm too excited now. you know what would be huge and awesome for Apple to do with the iPad 7, to do something which has not been done yet, or maybe some of them do it, but not everybody. Bring on the smaller iPad, put full phone functionality on it, not via Bluetooth, not via speakerphone. just kill the need for having two devices.
You want a 7-inch phone?
Yes. No. Listen, Michael, I don't want to carry my iPhone and my iPad.
I understand. I wrote a piece on it, and I agree completely. But a 7-inch phone, like, you want to hold a 7-inch phone up to your head?
Why not? Why not? Come on. Okay.
No, man. No, please continue. This is fascinating.
No, you guys don't get it. I hate carrying two phones. I've always carried two phones because one is my preferred platform, the other one is my preferred camera. I always carry a phone and a tablet if I go outside because I'm tethering from one to the other or because I need stuff. But with a smaller tablet, I will no longer need to bring my phone with me if the tablet will allow me to receive phone calls. And I'm not talking about phone calls via my Bluetooth headset, and not talking about phone calls via speakerphone so that the entire tram, bus, and everybody, the taxi driver, listens into what I'm talking.
Sure. Well, what about something like the Pad phone with like a Bluetooth stylus or something like that? Like, I mean, something that integrates nicely.
Sure, yeah. Just bring on some full phone functionality, and I think that would be great.
I guess it's just a question of, like, you would have to never go someplace that would require you to put the thing down, because you can't fit a 7-inch tablet in your pocket terribly well. I mean, not everyone is, you're a tall guy, right? So you could probably fit a 7-inch tablet in your pockets. I mean, I don't think I could under all circumstances. What happens when you go to the water park or something like that? I don't know. What do the kids do these days?
Here in Romania, nothing. They don't carry the stuff like that.
Kids these days, all they do is text and sext and Facebook and
go on them water rides and while they're Facebooking on the MySpace.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, that's fascinating, Tony. If I come across a 7-inch phone, I will get it to you somehow.
It looked strangely at the Samsung Galaxy Note. Even I had a picture with the Galaxy Note at my ear. But yeah, why not? I don't care what people say. If they laugh at me when I'm using the iPad as a camera, which I never do, I don't care. If I'm putting a 7-inch phone to my ear and talk to somebody, I don't care. What I care about is that I need to work, I need to be good at my work, and I need to be able to multitask, and I need to be able to deliver what I have on my task list for that day. And if that needs a phone functionality on a tablet, give it to me. Let me be happy.
I understand. I understand. I think I would need something more portable. Like, I was able to go through life for 4 months with the Veer as my daily driver. That is a 2.8-inch screen. And it's not just because I'm a WebOS guy. It's because I really liked it. I found that I liked carrying around this phone that sort of disappeared into my pockets, and it wasn't taking up this big slab of space somewhere on my body. I mean, there's something to be said for extreme portability as well. So, I don't know. I feel like as long as you can swap your SIM in different circumstances, I could maybe carry a 7-inch phone.
Yeah, but don't forget, you can use the iPhone with the headphones which are supplied. You could use the iPad the same way if it had phone functionality.
Sure. Well, that's true. Yeah, but you made a big point of saying, like, you didn't want a headset, right? But anyway.
But I want phone functionality on a tablet so that I don't need. Yeah, I don't need another phone with me.
Right. All right.
Hey, the Galaxy Tab 7.7 actually has an earpiece at the top near the prox sensor, and it's capable with the right software of making phone calls. And I was looking at it the other day, and I'm like, should I try to do this? Should I try to use this? It's the Wi-Fi version, so I need to get the 3G version. But should I try to It's too much. It's too much of a.
The answer is yes.
No.
We need to have a whole video of Brandon Miniman walking around Philadelphia, talking on the phone, talking on the Galaxy Tab 7.7.
It fits in my pocket. I mean, it looks really, really weird. Like there's something wrong with me. But usually people think something's wrong with me. I guess so. I guess it wouldn't be any different.
Okay, well, that'll have to be a weekend video or something. I would pay you to see that. I would love to see that. Anyway. Before we go, we're into the miscellaneous section. Will not take very long. I touched on this heavily in today's article about whether a new smartphone platform can ever survive in today's market. Meego is amazingly coming back. The guys who were behind Meego many of them have sort of split off from Nokia and have partnered. And under the brand name, I don't know how to pronounce this. Does anybody know how to pronounce this? Jola?
I think it's
Yola?
Jola. If it's Finnish, then it's Yola.
It's probably Yola, right? Yeah, because it's Finnish, right?
Then it's Yola.
Yeah, then it's got to be Yola. They're serious about this. They've got a whole team. They don't have a website yet because it's a brand spanking new, but they have a LinkedIn account. They've got a Twitter account, and they've announced a distribution deal with a Chinese distributor. Somebody save me on this one. I don't know what the Chinese distributor's name is. But this distributor has like 2,200 retail outlets, and
that's huge.
It's massive, and they're going to build at least two Meego-based phones this year. One of which will be for the common person, one of which will be for the enthusiast. That's amazing. And they're talking about maybe building in compatibility with HTML5-based Tizen apps. This is just huge. I love seeing it when a new platform comes and kind of tries to shake things up a little bit. I love the underdog. And I really love when a bunch of people who are part of a company that's going one direction say, no, we liked the way we were going before. We built something amazing in Meego. Actually, the quote is, Nokia created something wonderful, the world's best smartphone product. It deserves to be continued, and we will do that together with all the bright and gifted people contributing to the Meego success story. That's cool, man. I mean, these guys have passion. They're going to go do it. I think it's great. What do you guys think?
When I reviewed the Nokia N9, but sorry, Brandon, were you saying something?
I was just going to say it's kind of cool, but I don't know much about Meego. I really don't have an opinion on the matter.
Yeah, I use that phone, the Nokia N9, and of course, it's far from being the planet's best smartphone OS. It's a new OS, and it brings a fresh look. I mean, the concept of those panels, you had basically 3 panels, if I recall well. It was back in the day. One for swiping, one for swiping left to bring up a task manager, one is your main home screen, and the third one is the list of your applications, and you can access them wherever you are, in whichever application. Just swipe from the left or from the right, and you can access those, or even from the top to lock the screen. So it's a great concept. The problem, as always with new platforms, is lack of developer support and lack of applications for the end user. So it all depends, and it's like a chicken and egg story. You cannot have users if you don't have applications, and you can't have applications if you don't have a user base. So it's a catch-22. 23, 24.
If they can figure out how to get Android apps running on Meego, do you think? And if they can make a sizable enough store, do you think it has a shot?
I'm not sure Google will agree to that. But
I don't think they will at all. But if it could happen, I mean, look, it's happening on the playbook to a limited extent.
I would go as far as saying that back in the day, if Nokia wouldn't have ditched Meego, or if somebody would have picked up Meego where Nokia left it off, it would be around the same as Windows Phone right now, because they both started basically from scratch.
Yes. Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing what exactly happens with this. This is obviously brand new news. There's not a lot to talk about yet, but I'm going to keep my eye on this, and I might snap up one of those phones that they release going forward. We'll have to see. I want to talk Tony, about your crazy camera shootout very briefly. What was it like to shoot with? Tony posted an article comparing the cameras on what? The HTC One X, the iPhone 4S, the PureView 808, and the
Galaxy S3.
And the Galaxy S3. And it's awesome. If you haven't read it, listeners, you should go out and check it out on our site. It's really, really an in-depth comparison. I loved it because I love shooting sort of amateurish photos with my cell phone camera. What was it like to shoot with 4 phones out in public? I mean,
it was interesting, and I realized that there is a way of shooting with several phones at one time. Everybody in the business is using phones either, I don't know, on a board or holding one phone in their hand and the other one in their other hand. But the real thing is that all the phones which you are using for your test recording have to have the same perspective, so that the same lighting conditions apply, the same sound conditions apply. And I realized how to do that. And it was tricky to do with 3. It was close to impossible to do it with 4, but I somehow managed to pull it off.
You must have been a sight to see.
Yes, indeed. And people looked strangely towards me, especially that I was talking to myself. Well, basically, I was recording, but they were like, "Look at that guy with 4 white phones." All phones were white.
Oh yeah, they were all white, weren't they?
Yeah, and I was talking, but it came out pretty good, despite all the comments.
It would have been so cool if you managed to take a picture of yourself, like with a thoughtful look on your face as you're holding these phones together from like across the field, kind of. That would be so cool.
You know what, Brandon? I started off with a 3-way comparison. I did a 4-way comparison. The next time I'm doing a 5-way comparison, and I'm gonna have somebody shoot a picture of me with the 5 phones in my hand.
You better. If you do it in Berlin, I'll take the picture.
Okie dokie.
You're going to be like Gillette with razor blades. You're just going to keep adding more. The last point I want to make before our sort of wrap up here is that as a result of Tony's crazy camera shootout, we had some commenters who were kind of questioning the validity of the photos and saying, essentially that you guys cropped one of these to make another phone look better, and it was one of those kind of fanboyish arguments, and it was there were a couple comments thrown back and forth. The thing is, Tony, did you ever post your side by side comparison, the raw images like you said?
No, I did not post the images because mainly I have the reputation, and Pocketnow has the reputation on the market to not defend itself against any accusation thrown whatsoever. But I will post, and I have posted the raw images from the Nokia 808 PureView. Okay. And I just want to rant for a minute, if we have time, that whenever a company comes out with a product which is the best, the lightest, the smartest, the fastest, it's proven to be that, and it's proven to be that by different media outlets. And you say that, Anton says that, Pocketnow confirms that. And there comes a new breed of users on the internet. It's called the moron. And the moron throws his keyboard or her keyboard at you, and he says, "Oh my god, this is shit. How can you pull this one off?" You know what? I don't care about your comments, because you, as a person, do not exist unless you prove to me that you can do it better, faster, or you can do it without my mistakes. Until then, you just grow some balls, and maybe we have to take away the clean tag for this one. Grow some balls and accept it that your phone is a 6-month-old phone and that somebody can do it better. I'm always in favor of intelligent discussion with arguments, but as long as somebody says, "I don't care about that technology, I have never used it, I have never seen it," but no, I can't accept that, and it's end of my rant.
Right. Well, and all this falls in the category of we all get really, really passionate about platforms we're using. The mobile world is a lot like sports teams. I mean, it's very, very, everybody gets all hot faced and sweaty and whatever.
Yes, Michael, but we are talking facts, and facts can be proven, are palpable. Sure. You can see the difference. I mean, you don't have to.
No, but that's the thing. No, not everybody can see the difference. That's the thing.
Come on, man. You can see there was a huge difference between the HTC One X and the 808 Pure.
Kind of like that specific example. I'm with you. I'm not really defending anyone as much as I'm making an observation that when everyone gets that excited about everything, we all get very emotional, and it's very annoying because then the facts kind of disappear, and then all of a sudden there's a shouting match. I'm not talking about your interaction. I'm talking about the people in general in the field, right? So it's like I know exactly what you mean. We've talked about it last week. About people getting really up in arms about stuff that you're not actually saying. It's funny. It's an interesting little sidebar. I completely agree, and I think that my point is just this: you engaged with the with the commenter, which I think is cool because not a lot of people will do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I take responsibility
right.
for what I say and do, but whenever somebody comes and throws in accusations, which are harsh accusations, I mean, they're not only questioning my integrity as a reviewer, they are questioning the entire website's credibility, which is not acceptable in my book as far as common sense is concerned.
Right. And, and you responded, and I think that happens kind of all the time. Across the entire site, we'll get commenters who will say great things, who will say horrible things, who will say middle of the road things, and if we have the time, more often than not, we take the time to try and respond. That's been pushed from the top from both of you guys ever since I came on board. It's like try to engage with the commenters and try to be a member of the community. I think that's really cool. Sometimes it ends up in tiffs. Sometimes it ends up with jerks, and sometimes it ends up with like really useful interactions. I think the point I'm trying to make is that we are listening to the listeners out there. We are listening to your feedback. In the case of the contest, we put out the giveaway contest for the Galaxy S3, and we were like, well, we have some restrictions here where we want to make it US only because that'll be simpler. We're not really sure if the phone can be unlocked. By the way, everyone stop telling me that all phones can be unlocked. We've had problems in the past with units coming from specific vendors that cannot be unlocked easily. So that's what we were trying to avoid. Anyway, we put the contest announcement up. We were like, US only, and everyone kind of exploded. And then we kind of talked about it. We spent an hour. We're like, well, can we do this? Can we make it international? Let's investigate. We decided that it was possible. We unlocked the phone, and now it's open to everyone. So I guess my point is, we're listening to your feedback. Thank you for continuing to provide it. And we'll keep engaging you as long as you're not, as long as people aren't jerks. And I think that goes for the internet as well as the real world. I mean, I don't interact with jerks very often in the real world either. Brandon, do you have a thought on that?
I think it's nice if people can act as if, we're all in this. Let's act as if we're in the same room. We're having a reasonable, intelligent discussion about the issues that we care about. At the end of the day, we're just reviewing and talking about cool technology, and we want to help you we want to point you towards the coolest stuff we find. And we're not paid by Samsung. We don't have an agenda except to write really good content for you. And so it's kind of confusing to me sometimes when the morons come with their torch lit and it's like, whoa, we're if you think there's something wrong here, let's talk about it. We'd love to engage you, but don't come at us with a fist in the air. It's just how the internet is, and it's fine.
Well put. Well, Tony, how are you doing over there? You good?
Hey, absolutely. I was just thinking that it's interesting how the anonymity of the internet, I mean, hiding behind a username, can make somebody believe that they can get away with stuff. I mean, we're all public figures as far as our faces, names, workplaces, email addresses, Facebooks, and Twitters are concerned. You know all the stuff that needs to be known about us. What can you tell me about a troll on YouTube? Nothing. It's just a username which today exists, tomorrow is not there, and they just keep on coming back once you probably ban them because they're using F words all day long. So what I'm saying is that the internet is a great thing, but it's also a hostile environment.
That it is, and yeah, there's a lot of that is so true that there are a lot of books out on that very topic, and it's a fascinating psychological thing.
And I just want to thank the person who once told me that I had the best sideburns in tech. That's I like. That's nice. That's really nice of you, person. It was on YouTube. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
That is a good place to jump into the final topic of the day here, which we really do have to spend 2 minutes each on. Guys, we have some rumors coming down the pipe of several phones that are going to rock 1080p displays. that is not 720p, that is 1080p, that is full HD on a phone display of whatever it is in the 4 to 5 inch neighborhood. This is overkill, or this is not overkill. 2 minutes for each of you. Brandon, you may begin. Let's discuss.
Wait, Tony has to go first. I went first last time.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm cheating because I know where you're each coming from, so I thought I'd structure it that way, but okay. Tony.
Okay.
The gentleman from Romania has the floor.
I think it is an overkill because we are having phones which are at the moment between 4.3 and 4.8 inches. We have phablets of 5.3 inches, and if the next phablet will go up to even 6 inches, I don't think there will go any further because that's tablet territory. At 6 inches, Full HD resolution yields for 380 ppi, which is huge. I mean, the difference between HD 720p and Full HD 1080p doesn't give you that much of a screen real estate as the difference between, I don't know, WVGA or QHD towards 720p. So you don't need that high of a resolution because content which you are seeing, even if it's full HD content from YouTube, you can't tell the difference if you're watching it on a 720p screen or a 1080p screen. Yeah, sure, bring on 1080p screens for tablets. That should be a standard, but as far as small diagonal phones are concerned, I think 720p should be the maximum resolution for anything below 6 inches. And I rest my case.
Wow, less than a minute. This guy is good. Brandon.
All right, I'm going to throw a curveball to both of you. I'm actually, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I actually agree with Tony. Here's why.
Say that you don't agree.
I was just going to say, what, like 2 hours ago, you were sitting on the other side of the fence. Go ahead.
All right. Let me have my 2 minutes. So I was thinking back to how screen resolutions have improved from QVGA to VGA, WVGA to 720p, and I thought to myself that the jump from 720p to 1080p would enable something new to happen, and maybe some sort of new UI. And then I thought back to this evolution of screen resolutions. What has changed? Nothing. What's different now is that you can see more detail in a 720p video. What's changed is that icons are so clear that you cannot see pixels, and there's a point at which where more pixels are overkill. So I agree that 1080p is going to be overkill, except in two situations. One, whoever gets to market first is going to have a fun marketing message to provide. And number two, if the screen's large enough and you're watching a 1080p movie and you have good enough vision, you're going to see insane clarity that might be marginally better than what you saw on a 720p screen, but only if you have, I think, better than 2020 eyesight, like 2015, 2013, which is actually very possible. That's what I think.
Nice. Very good. Very, very balanced shot there. Also well under 2 minutes. You guys are really good at only saying what you mean. For my part, I'm not going to take 2 minutes. I'll just say I think it's overkill. But I can live at 800 by 480. I'm the worst person to ask this question to. I would never ask me about resolution stuff because unless I can see pixels with my naked eye, I am just plenty happy. So
that just for one short second, I'm using the Nokia 808 PureView as my daily driver because I have to review the phone, and it has an HD resolution, which is Nokia's 360 by 640 or something. I think it's that from the top of my head. Yeah, it's the standard for Symbian, and you know what? It looks good. It's a 4-inch screen. It looks good. I can see pixels, of course, but I don't care about pixels because I'm not holding the phone up to my nose. I'm holding it at 15, 20 centimeters, and at that distance is good.
I understand. I understand exactly what you mean. I know Brandon does not agree. We're all different. It's lovely.
I don't agree. I must have had a lot of beta carotene when I was younger, but my eyesight is, fortunately, knock on wood, very, very good. And so I can, from a normal viewing distance on a WVGA screen, I can see pixels, and
It keeps you up at night.
It really does. It's blah. I don't know. This is
now you understand the late Steve Jobs when he called up the Google executive saying that the yellow on the Google icon was not yellow enough for Apple to use.
Did that really happen?
Yeah, I think it's an anecdote which really happened.
Oh wow, well, you have to look that up for.
It wasn't the biography which I read.
It
That's
was
fine.
in the. It was in the. Oh, all right. We'll talk about it next time. We've got a jet. Guys, thank you for that. That was awesome. Tell. Why don't we start with Brandon? Tell the internet where the internet can reach you when it wants to.
I am at on Twitter at Branded Miniman, or Miniman, as some. It's actually pronounced Miniman, but I say Miniman because it just sounds like cinnamon, and that's great.
I have no comment on the matter. That's wonderful. And Tony?
I'm not gonna say my word because you won't be able to spell it, so I'm gonna spell it for you. It's A-N-T. Stop that. It's ANTONDNAGY, and I'm saying Nagy because it sounds like Nagy, and in Hungarian it means great.
That's great.
Just
Nice.
in case you care.
And I can be found on Twitter as well at Captain 2 Phones. It's Captain the number 2 Phones. But you can also contact us at the official Pocketnow Twitter account, listeners. That is at Pocketnow Tweets, all one word, obviously. And you can also email us if you have a specific topic you want discussed, or if you have a question for us, or you want something for us to read on the air. You can email us at podcast@pocketnow.com. And
And we're also working on getting the podcast on Zoom, so by next week we should have it there.
Thank you for the Zune plug. I forgot to mention that we should be good on iTunes now, and we should also be direct download available at every single post we make from the podcast tweet.
Yeah, and Android users can use Google Listen to listen to the podcast if they subscribe to the podcast RSS.
Sweet.
Boom.
Anything else? All right, gentlemen. Thank you again, listeners. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.